I think a lot about countries that are known for democracy. Obviously, number one is going to be America.
Yeah.
And technically, Indonesia isn't a liberal democracy, right?
Yeah.
We're liberal by the books, but in real life, we don't really practice.
I think we're truly liberal in real life too. I mean, lu mau lihat dari mana 85% dari
Demokrasi,
270 juta? Iya, partisipannya 85%. That's the highest participant in democracy. Lu mau cari di mana? That's even bigger than India dan whatever.
Well, yeah, but like, other features of...
Bigger ya, nggak ngomong quality kita.
But other features of democracy is not just voting turnouts. It's also like freedom of speech, right? And like equal rights for every single citizen, all that type of stuff, right? And when you look at countries like America and Indonesia, and like we have democracy, we have democracy. Tapi hasilnya kayak apa?
Tapi gini loh, gue nggak tahu ya, tapi gue harus bilang ya, gue ke US, blue state, maksudnya East Coast, West Coast, New York, California, blue state. Terus red state-nya gue pernah ke Texas.
Texas, of course, yeah.
Gue harus bilang Indonesia lebih bagus sih. Gue kayak lu ngomongin liberal dan ini kayak isu homeless di Amerika sih gila ya menurut gue.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I agree.
Kayak wow, if this is the price of freedom, I rather not be free.
No, but America and Indonesia are not that different in terms of our like state philosophy of us being democracies, like freedom of speech.
Ya benar-benar kita sebetulnya paling mirip.
We're paling mirip
paling
Amerika.
Mirip dengan Amerika.
Where has that gotten us in comparison? Have you been to China?
Ya betul.
China don't have democracy.
Iya benar.
But they got everything else.
Ya.
Bro.
Ya. Sama kayak if you look at country kayak misalnya yang Timur Tengah yang very well kayak Abu Dhabi atau apa sih kayak sekarang sih serem ya jalan di Amerika gitu. Gak usah Amerika, di Eropa juga kayak Prancis banyak tukang copet kali gitu.
When was the last time you went to Europe if you've ever been?
I've never been to Europe, tapi maksudnya bini gue lahir di sana. Tapi sekarang tuh kayak dulu Soekarno tuh, gue malas nih ngomong kayak gini. Sangat sulit untuk jadi nasionalis. Lu kayak nasionalis tuh soalnya di framing selangkah sebelum fasis sih kayak.
Oh iya.
Like one step behind fasis.
Iya.
Dulu si Soekarno tuh ngebangun Monas tuh katanya sebagai monumen kebanggaan untuk menghindari minder. I forget that minder tuh a short word dari kata bahasa Belanda yang artinya kayak inferiority complex. Minder whatever apa gitu.
Iya.
Yang sulit itu adalah menurut gua, and I think this applies to you and me. I'm saying this for semua kelas A Indonesia. Inspirasi kelas A Indonesia tuh cuma pengen jadi orang susah luar negeri. That's what I cannot swallow.
Ya benar juga.
Iya kan?
Iya.
Like, lu kayak misalnya kita pengen hip hop gitu. Bro, itu orang-orang tinggal di rusun anjing, ngapain kita aspire to that gitu. Kita we're so lost in our identity. And then kita selalu mikir bangsa luar lebih dari kita, padahal banyak loh menurut gua yang sosial kelasnya jauh lebih tinggi dan lebih intelek, tapi lu aspirasinya cuma pengen jadi orang susah luar negeri. I don't understand. Dan itu yang suka jadi sulit dengan waktu itu gua juga waktu pulang dari kuliah, gue sangat sulit untuk ngomong bahasa Indonesia dan segala macam gitu. I'm that jaksel ngomong which is before all of this trend. Tapi akhirnya gue berusaha switch dan mengembrace how to communicate better. Karena kalau nggak, meskipun gue tahu 75% dari percakapan ini adalah in English.
Just this one.
Ya tapi karena kita sangat kehilangan identity as a person. Jadi kita kayak selalu ini kayak menurutku Amerika mah sampah gitu. Gue udah gak mau lagi gitu ngeliat ini kayak kenapa sih kalau ini kayak itu orang susah di luar negeri, ngapain kita ngikutin itu gitu.
What's really funny is that when I moved to America and I hear a lot of people here in wait, hold on. What was I trying to say? Oh, like when I went to America and I saw the ghettos in America, bro, the ghettos in America look hella fancy compared to the ghettos that we have here.
Ya karena mereka kan exposed to good brands and apa you see
Bro, if you're an American and you live in the ghetto, you still have a car.
Ya, lo masih punya. Nah, itu dia. Jadi the standard way of their living itu memang jauh lebih gede. Jadi kayak lu tuh kalau lu di negara maju, lu bisa profesinya biasa aja. Tapi hidup lu jauh lebih terjaga.
Yeah.
Di sini lu harus jadi kaya untuk jadi hidup enak. Tapinya adalah the opportunity to be rich itu lebih besar di sini.
Oh, for sure.
Ya maksudnya itu yang orang jarang lihat. Misalnya hari ini gitu. Kalau misalnya gue di Australia atau di Amerika, gue nggak mungkin achieve apa yang gue achieve di sini. There's no one gonna listen to my yapping kayak gini atau kayak punya talent management. Gak mungkin.
Well, talent management, I mean,
maksudnya entrepreneurship dan segala macam dibuka. Misalnya di Amerika menurut gue nggak mungkin. Gak mungkin gue.
You can't say like you can't say because you don't know.
Tapi misalnya gini kayak gak usah gitu, oke.
I understand.
Misalnya kayak coffee entrepreneurship gitu. Maksudnya kayak lu mau gimana bikin kopi di luar sana gitu. Lu bisa bikin kopi di sini gitu.
Yeah. No, I agree. I understand what you're saying.
Kita sebetulnya ngomong apa sih dari tadi?
We're just going with your flow, man.
Ya tapi kira-kira jadi kayak banyak interconnected, kayak kebebasan berpikir seseorang tuh menurut gue itu awal berdirinya dari kemajuan society lo. Selama lo masih kayak ya kayaknya luar lebih keren apa ini menurut gue enggak sih. Apalagi hari ini ya. Kalau dulu iyalah kayak gue masih ngalamin kayak kalau mau lihat Uniqlo kayak lo harus ke Singapura gitu.
Oh wow.
Ya H&M itu harus ke Singapura, Zara lu harus ke Singapura. Tapi hari ini apalagi kalau ngomongin major cities di Indonesia, lu dapetin apa yang mereka dapetin lebih cepat bahkan. So sebetulnya kita sangat jauh, tapi gak tahu ya mentalnya kayak gitulah. Gue gak ngerti juga.
Actually ngomong-ngomong mental, that might be like a good segue to talk about. I've been looking forward to this conversation all day.
Okay.
And like Peter and I, we talk about this a lot of the mental resilience and fortitude of Gen Zs because a while back, like Peter was asking me like, do you feel like Gen Zs are just, what did you ask me after we were done with Andrew? You were asking me about, do you feel like Gen Zs are more anxious compared to like
overthinking about everything?
Overthinking gak penting ya. But to you it's trivial. Like in your opinion, the things that we tend to.
What year you born?
91.
Oh 91.
Jadi kayak
masih muda
ada junior gue gitu kan. Terus dia dari satu kampus bagus gitulah di luar negeri. Terus kok kira-kira gue kan udah keterima nih satu company. Kira-kira gue bisa survive nggak di company ini aja? Univ lu buat masuk sama buat keluar challenge-nya lebih susah kali daripada masuk ke sini.
Well, problemnya pertama juga kita belum pernah terhubung seperti hari ini terhubung. Why gini dulu bukan gak ada generation gap, the generation is not talking with each other. Now kayak gue ketemu lo gitu, maksudnya now we talking kayak kita ada clashing preferences. Dulu nggak interaksinya nggak sebanyak ini. Jadi apakah Gen Z memiliki mental yang lebih ini? Sebetulnya menurut gue kalau orang milenial terekspos dengan teknologi Gen Z sih menurut gue juga akan suffer the same.
Exactly.
Suffer the same. Karena orang nggak pernah terhubung selama ini dan sebanyak ini sebelumnya. Misalnya dulu gue sekolah gitu, ada yang sama yang jauh lebih kaya dan gue kalau deket dia I feel a lot of pressure gitu economically gitu. Ya weekend gue nggak perlu main sama dia, tapi now it's on your tablet, your phone lah ya. Year in year out udah nggak ada dan jadi untuk memblok itu tuh lu butuh effort lebih gitu karena now it's following you gitu.
Now it's everywhere and you can't.
And I think that private space itu sangatlah penting gitu. Gue tadi baru baca thread lucu banget, dia bilang gini, ada yang bilang normalize orang aktif sosial media tapi nggak balas WhatsApp. Karena emang kekuatan mentalnya cuma cukup untuk merhatiin sosial media aja, bukan berinteraksi dengan orang-orang di WhatsApp.
And you know, to be honest, in my experience, like I don't know about the both of you, But I know a lot of people that are like that. Because what the fuck you mean? I messaged you 2 days ago about work, but you're not responding to me. But I see you just reposted something on your story.
Of course, kalau dari beda generasi dan wanna throw joke about it, gampang tuh dismiss it. Oh ya momennya. Tapi gue baru sadar perbedaannya millennial and Gen Z adalah Gen Z have nowhere else to go. Millennials we still go di office. Maksudnya gue masih after I graduate, I have a career, kantor tempat kerja, rumah tuh tempat bukan kerja. Tapi kalian tuh memang tempatnya di layar. So what you can do adalah cuma switch application.
Right.
Dan itu nggak bagus. Jadi kalau lo mau mental lebih baik, have somewhere to go. Gitu, move your body gitu.
And I'm almost wondering, Peter, if you could get on your computer and like maybe look up like how like sedentary. How much more sedentary are we compared to millennials and all the generations that come before us? Sedentary means that you just like stay in one place, like you're just like you're not moving a lot, because movement is very much highly correlated with happiness, like obviously exercise, like.
Tapi Jerry V juga said something interesting. Dia bilang,
who said it?
Jerry V.
Oh, Jerry V, yeah.
Jerry V said this kayak, all the new parents keep saying about limiting screen times. No man, lu nggak bisa force the truth of your generation to be the truth of next generation.
That is true. No, I agree.
You know how many screen hours they have to deal in their career life gitu. Mungkin lebih dari ini.
Yeah.
Nah, sebetulnya yang sekarang adalah yang problem karena educationnya itu belum catch up dengan pembaruan dunianya. We don't know what sort of like mental exercise and education that is required buat orang survive mental state-nya hidup dalam screen terus.
Yeah.
Kita nggak ada pembaruan itu. Maksudnya our education system tuh diupdate terakhir tahun berapa dan dunianya. This is what happened if you put commercial first before this. Tapi ya that's what happened kalau.
Right. I think every generation we are introduced with our own new and unique challenges that other generations have never had to deal with. And I think the number one culprit for why mental health, and this is true, y'all can look up, there's so many research that shows how when it comes to mental health, Gen Z is the worst out of every like other generation, right? Our mental health quality is fucking dog shit. And also that's very funny coming from me, considering right now I'm in and out of psychiatry actually. Lagi berobat. But the number one culprit for Gen Z is obviously social media, right? It's not even the fact that, like you said, it follows us everywhere. Like we can't get off of it. A lot of us are addicted to it. But also like nowadays, even when you think about career, we can't not use social media even for our career. Most of us, we can't.
I think your social media would be like cigarette in my era. And then we finally decide that it's bad. And I think that's your generation's job to do. How you gonna came up with regulations and rules to limit? Karena pasti akan bias banget karena it's a big industry gitu. Maksudnya,
of course, and they're very
nanti
powerful.
balik lagi tentang investment dan segala macam. Kalau pada saat investmentnya puringinnya gede, mereka akan alangin sekuat tenaga untuk the truth came out karena ya terlalu besar kayak gini. It's same like cigarette waktu in our era.
Do you read books?
Udah nggak bisa.
You're illiterate.
Maksudnya ya audiobook gue kayak baca gitu juga udah nggak bisa. Karena otak gue terlalu scattered brain. I hardly. Tapi gue finish it biasanya lewat audiobook.
Okay, well you can get the audiobook version of this one book, and this is the book that literally just in the last episode with Andrew from e-commerce, I recommended this. I recommend this so often. You guys probably know which book I'm about to say. It's called Stolen Focus by Johann Hari. It talks about this specifically and how social media, point blank, social media is ruining us. It is ruining our attention span. It is ruining our quality of life. And so much of the nefariousness of social media, the social media companies that create these, I'm not going to say names of the companies. Y'all can just figure it out for yourselves. They know what they're doing. The engineers know what they're doing. The people that work in these companies, again, I'm not gonna say the name, but y'all can figure it out for yourselves. They don't let their own children go on social media. That's how bad and addictive they know social media. They know what their apps can do
Yeah.
to you that they don't even let their own children use it.
Yeah.
Right? So I really recommend everybody go get a copy of Stolen Focus. It is probably like, when you want to talk about Gen Z and why are we the way we are? Why is it so hard to focus? Why are we so depressed? Why are we always lonely? Considering, which is ironic considering we are so
You're the one-
deep in social media and social networking, but we are so lonely and we're so isolated, right? So if you want a book that explains all of that, look no further than Stolen Focus by Johanna Ray.
I forgot. This is someone's quote, but I forgot who said it. One of the major causes why in podcast industry is rising is because this is the only way Gen Z know how to connect to a community.
No, that I see that. I feel that as a podcaster. I don't know about you because you also do podcasting, but I feel that as well. Like, isn't this so much?
Yeah.
Like,
dari luar lu ngeliatnya they're only listening, but from their point of view, this is how I connect with the community.
Yeah.
I know some people have shared the same problems, blah, blah, blah. So that's...
Bro, a lot of people tell me like they tune into Tigs, and I do the same thing with other podcasts as well. Like a lot of my friends, like we also do this with other podcasts where part of the experience of turning on a podcast is feeling like you're not alone in the room, right? And that certain podcasts, not every podcast, because like, for example, if you're tuning into Dr. Andrew Huberman, like from the Huberman Lab podcast show, like that's obviously not... that's not a podcast show where it emulates the environment of like you talking to somebody, chilling with a friend or whatever. That's like a lot more academic. That's like Jordan Peterson type shit. But things like this, like what me and Adrian are doing right now, what Tigs does, what, you know, like what even Majelis Lucu Indonesia, like what you guys does, it very much replicates like a social environment where it feels like what you turn it on, and like I swear, like in my experience, there are moments where I even forget that these people are on the computer.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's a very magical thing. And I think that's why podcasting is doing as well as it does, because I think it's reflecting the gap that a lot of us are feeling growing up in the social media generation, where despite the fact that we are so connected online, we are the least connected we have ever been in real life.
Yeah.
And that's sad and it's scary.
Some of you only knows how to interact with each other with camera on. You don't know how to interact with no camera.
Oh yeah, that is true. No, you know what's you know
Kayak
what's
konten lebih nyaman daripada having an actual conversation.
Yes. No, I've met people like that. Oh, and also, you know what's really interesting? When we're talking about the younger generation of Gen Z and also Gen A, because for context, I'm 97, so I'm
Borderline.
the very first.
Yeah.
I'm the very first line of Gen Z.
Yeah, you're the zillennials.
I'm the zillennial. Yeah. I'm like
millennial traits tapi udah Gen Z.
Yeah. Well, I don't
tapi yang udah pure Gen Z beda banget pasti.
Pure Gen Z.
Do you have a second account?
I do.
Yeah. Do you have a close friend in your second account?
No, my second.
Yeah,
no.
that's why you're a zillennials. The pure Gen Z have a close friend in their account, and that's and that's how they update each other's life with content for close friend in second account.
Anjir, aku sendiri Gen Z, aku nggak tahu ini. Wait, what generation is your kid?
It's Alpha.
How old's your kid?
Turning 3 in September.
Okay, that's too young.
Itu yang dia not yet ini.
How old are you planning to him or her? Sorry.
Him.
Yeah, have a son. How old are you gonna let him? At what age will you allow him to have a phone? And go on social media?
I'm not.
Have you talked about it with your wife yet?
The thing is, if we put it to our standard, it might not be beneficial for him to thrive on his generation. That's the only dilemma.
Right.
I know whatever happened in Discord chat, that's fucking scary. Like, my friend of mine, his kid is 14, talking about chat that his son did with random people in Discord. Like, it holds such a fucking scary background, and I'm not ready for it. But I still need to wait and see dia bakal ngadepin apa sih nanti pas sekolahnya, karena nggak tahu zamannya belum kebentuk gitu.
Right. No, and actually I feel like Gen A, I feel like maybe I could be so wrong, but maybe Gen A, they might handle social media and technology better than Gen Z, because what's the difference with Gen Zs like me? We were the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
We were guinea pigs, so we had to figure it out as we go, and that's the issue, right? Like, we grew up in an age of social media, and social media in itself is not bad, but we grew up social media exploded in popularity faster and bigger. It exploded in popularity faster than we were able to keep up in terms of how do we build discipline around it, right? Like Gen Z, I think we could be the poorest generation when it comes to social media hygiene.
This is how different we are, okay? I experienced BlackBerry in my working days. Like after I graduate, like 2007, 2008, that's the first time I can reply email mobile, you know. You used to have to go to the computer to reply email. And I experienced all that, like I'm already mature enough, I graduate uni, I'm in my professional years, so that's the mark of work-life balance disappear, you know, because now you start. But I experienced it when I'm like 23, 24. You guys...
I guess for reference, like I got my first phone.
It's BlackBerry.
No, my first phone was one of those flip phone Nokias, but you couldn't do anything on it. Like there was like the snake game, but I didn't use it. My mom only gave it to me because
to contact
just in case anything happens, right? Because my mom was always outside of the house because she's a single mom and she was always working. But I got my first smartphone was a BlackBerry. I got that when I was, I think, 11.
Yeah. So preteen.
Yeah.
Dan sekarang lebih nilai kayak
No, but even like the internet, like and this is public information. Like per my memory, unless like I'm completely misremembering, but to my memory, my first time being exposed to pornography, I was 8 years old on the internet.
Oh ya, itu juga porn tuh kan problemnya Gen Z tuh.
Yeah. Gen Z, we
have unlimited access to porn tuh.
We have unlimited.
No wonder none of you all dating ya, maksudnya kayak.
Oh yeah. No wonder incels are becoming a really huge problem. You know what incels are, right? Involuntarily celibate. Like it's all these men that they can't get, ngomong kasar aja, they can't get pussy, they can't get girls, and because they're so mad about it, they're one of those like. They turn into one of those like Andrew Tate Sneeko type of alpha males that just like talk shit about women and like they're very misguided and very just like deluded, and it comes from this place of resentment that they can't get girls, they can't find love in their lives, and we have that problem where we are a generation that's struggling with unlimited access to porn. We are struggling with unlimited access to people's highlight reels, because that's the thing about social media. It's a highlight reel. Nobody ever talks about their bad days, that I'm breaking out with a lot of acne, unless you're me, right? Like I'm breaking out with a lot of acne, or like I just got dumped, and like I'm in a horrible place in life. Like we're constantly comparing our bad days to people's best days.
Ya gini, jadi to like sum it up, I think the problem is your unlimited access to instant relief. Whether they got likes on TikToks or got commented, even access to porn is also related to instant relief, right? Karena ternyata social interaction itu butuh you go through that like the awkward period until you get result. But if the instant relief itu selalu ada di tangan lo akan pilih ini selalu.
We are a generation. You're right.
Kayak misalnya ngajak kenalan cewek, itu lo butuh nggak punya akses ke instant relief. You need to overcome that awkwardness, and then karena you find this person itu attractive, then you go for it. Tapi if lo lihat yang di sini kan mungkin telanjang ya, yang di situ enggak, dan lo bakal kesini lagi.
That is true. Unlimited.
Kayak gue bakal kena kasus. Dopamine, unlimited dopamine access.
Unlimited.
Kayak robot tuh akan kejadian, the one yang floppy in chair gitu, kayak cuma ngeliat ini.
But besides social media, I think social media is a very huge culprit when it comes to the deterioration of our mental health for those of us that are Gen Z. But I think you're also forgetting economic factors, like how everything is so much more fucking expensive. And in America right now, nobody can afford a home unless you already have a home and you inherited that from your parents.
Tapi bukannya rumah nggak penting buat Gen Z?
Rumah penting, keluarga nggak penting. No, it's true. No, it's true. Well, a house is important. You need somewhere to live. Do you need Do you need family? Do you need a husband? Do you need a wife? Do you need kids? Oh, we're also like the child free movement is proliferating and it's becoming more popular. And part of it is because now we're starting to realize, especially women, we're starting to realize that no, actually we don't have to have kids if we don't want to, right? That's number one. But also number two, and I think this is really sad, I know a lot of people that they would make the best parents and they would love to be parents. They would love to, but the economy just doesn't support it.
This brings back to our first topic. So to grow, to accept, and then to improve your quality self, lo harus bikin hidup lo berjalan sih. Kalau enggak, lo berusaha stay in that golden age itu untuk relevan di situ terus, padahal untuk kebaikan mental lo, mungkin lo udah nggak di situ.
As in, you're trying to say that one day you might just outgrow this mentality of I don't need a family and I don't need kids.
No. Tapi maksudnya kayak gini, in order to make a better society,
yes,
lo as a person juga harus go through phases different of life. Kalau enggak, dia nggak akan jalan. Maksudnya perspektifnya akan diluted. Maksudnya gimana ya? Kayak akan. Jadi gini, misalnya lo mau bikin isu misalnya Indonesia menjadi negara yang lebih baik, oke? Itu ada hubungannya dengan lo sebagai person untuk melewati berbagai macam fase dalam hidup lo. Misalnya berkeluarga, in this case adalah berkeluarga, grow old, mengalami emptiness, bukan kekosongan, emptiness, ya. Kalau perspektifnya nggak di enrich that way, dia akan stuck.
Yes.
Dia akan stuck karena gue nggak bilang benar atau salah, tapi sangat susah untuk diaplikasikan biar community-nya makin baik. Gitu. Karena ini tuh kayak ada society dulu. Lu kalau nonton iRobots, I think iRobots atau apa gitu. Dia bikin hyperbole post apokaliptik ini. Jadi ceritanya di negara ini udah ilegal untuk punya bayi. Jadi kita juga bahkan as a society itu udah achieve eternal youth, dan kita only exist to entertain each other. You know, true crime yang terjadi di realm itu apa? Di realm tadi, in that universe.
Apa?
What's the crime, you know? Orang yang diam-diam ingin punya anak. Jadi negaranya akhirnya corrupted juga, yang gede di atas hidup kayak dengan kesenangannya masing-masing, gak tua-tua dan segala macam. Yang di bawah, gue nggak mau hidup selamanya. Gue mati is what give life purpose dan di pass on ke generasi berikutnya. I'm not saying lo harus punya biological clock, tapi whatever wisdom that you have should die with you, dan itu bisa diimprovise cuma oleh generasi berikutnya. Akhirnya si polisinya tadinya dia bertugas untuk exterminate orang-orang yang punya anak diam-diam, sampai akhirnya dia pick up a baby. Ada yang kelewatan, terus bayinya diangkat dan dia kayak abis itu dia balik lagi ke tempatnya, dia ketemu pacarnya, dan ini kayak ini udah gue udah nggak bisa lagi di sini gitu. Aneh banget ya ternyata kalau muda terus tuh aneh banget ya gitu. Dia baru mulai ini ya.
What movie is this?
Film animasi di Netflix, gue lupa episode berapa. Kayak it's a compilation of iRobots? Not iRobots. Love, Death and Robots. Sorry.
Love, Death
and Robots.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Coba cari episode berapa gitu.
Oh, that's interesting.
Dia karakter utamanya seorang polisi yang punya pacar yang kayak kita kapan lagi nonton opera. Jadi dia exist cuma just to entertain with each other. Dan dia polisi yang harus ke bawah-bawah karena udah nggak boleh, kan kita udah internal youth. Kita nggak usah nambah ini lagi, nggak usah nambah populasi lagi gitu.
I guess to relate it back to the topic of like Gen Zs and why we are such an unhappy generation, like do you think that our the child free movement is becoming more popular, right? So the child free movement is becoming more popular and there is this sort of like abandonment of
sorry, ini wifi-nya apa ya? Ini tuh gak ada sinyal ya?
But I was saying like I mean, relating it back to the conversation of why Gen Z's mental health is so bad and why a lot of us are very unhappy. Like, do you think that bears any correlation? Like what you were talking about, having kids and like finding a life's purpose beyond just selfish interests.
Not try to be all wise and monk about it.
Yeah.
I think happiness is not about you.
Actually, I can't even disagree with you. I think once upon a time when I was younger, I would have completely disagreed with that and I would have fought you over it. But there was this one quote. I think Jordan Peterson was the one who said it. What did he say again? Oh God, I know it when I hear it. I just can't remember. He said something about how you know that you have become an adult and that you have fully matured once you start thinking about somebody else other than yourself.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
But that's maturity. That didn't talk about happiness. But I feel like
I think happiness too when you know your function for someone else.
Yeah.
I don't think kayaknya to satisfy only yourself it's a bottomless pit.
Right. Well, but also like in defense of like the child-free movement, that child-free does not mean that I'm just like serving life for myself and I'm only living for myself. Like, you could be child-free with your partner as well. And so you live for your partner. That doesn't necessarily mean that like you could not live for your partner. That's like the wrong way of putting it. It's not that you live for your partner, but you derive fulfillment and a sense of purpose in your life to not only live for yourself and do the things that you want to do in life, but also to be a good partner to your partner, and kids don't have to be involved in that.
Ya gua gini, ada 3 hal yang gue pegang. Kayak gue percaya lo tuh harus settle down. Nggak cuma 2 sih sebetulnya. Nggak 3 gini. Gue nggak percaya lo join military apalah gitu kayak, karena gue percaya dalam kebebasan, tapi kalau if you need to die for something, gue kayak I'm not over it in whatever form.
Yeah.
That's one. Kedua, gue percaya lo harus settle down. Marriage nggak ini, tapi lu settle down.
Find somebody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Settle down.
I agree.
Mau apapun orientasi seksualnya, gue nggak percaya dalam sana sini mana ini, itu nggak jadi. Kedua, pass on your torch. Maksudnya dalam artian lo nggak harus punya biological child, tapi if you don't teach, adopt, karena itu menurut gue satu-satunya cara people like you dengan apapun kebijaksanaannya itu diteruskan gitu. Jadi dan kalau ditanya tentang kebahagiaan juga kayaknya itu nggak cuma satu arah ke dalam doang gitu, justru malah for community gitu.
Yeah.
Ya gitu deh.
No, I agree.
No, ya tapi gue tuh karena gini, gue tuh ngomong kayak gini tuh berlawanan dengan komedi gue, karena for me it's easy to be deep, it's very hard to be funny. I always associate something deep itu karena lu fail to be funny. So like if my joke doesn't work anymore, gue mulai bergeser to be deep ya.
I see. No, I can agree with what you said. But yeah, I mean in reality though, the economy is kind of hard to. That's the bleak reality that we're living in, right? It's not just social cultural factors, but it's also economic factors as well.
Yeah,
climate's dying. There's also that we're inheriting a dog shit economy. We're inheriting a dog shit climate, and
tapi kalau gue gini, whatever the situation dan apapun dengan segala ketidaksempurnaannya, I always think take this as an opportunity to have an adventure. I think if you look at it that way,
adventure requires money.
Yeah, no, but if you look at it that way, yeah, well, it's an adventure. You have to go through some phases like levels and apa. Kalau lihat itu kayaknya sedikit lebih menyenangkan gitu. I'm not saying everything's gonna get solved, but yeah, I think kalau in terms of melalui dengan cara yang menyenangkan kayaknya masih mungkin aja. Dan gua mulai mereduce concern gue tentang hidup di situ aja. Karena kalau enggak it's too much. Ya gitu lah. I know it's gonna end up this way. Jadi kebijakan ini gitu.
The end is coming anyway. Might as well embrace it. I guess it's the takeaway.
Kayak life isn't waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance.
Ya, something kayak gitu-gitu lah.
Oh yeah. I mean, wait, say that again. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass.
It's about learning to dance in the rain.
Yeah.
To dance in the rain. What would be the devil's advocate for that one if anybody try to rebuttal against that?
Ya, jadi gue sebetulnya udah males kayak menggiring opini orang, mengubah pendapat seorang. Kayak I think people believe what they want to believe.
Oh ya.
And ya gue berusaha senang-senang aja sih tanpa causing harm to people atau create sensation itu kan hobinya Indah.
For now.
Ya.
We'll see what happens to me.
Gue udah ngejalanin podcast lot longer than you, tapi nggak pernah podcast gue jadi episode Panji.
2 kali lagi.
2 kali lagi.
And you've never trended on Twitter for 3 days.
My only trending moment tuh cuma 1.
What happened to you? What did you do?
Waktu itu ada semoga ini nggak jadi rame lagi ya. ada vlogger Lampung yang protes sama pemerintahnya gara-gara jalanan jelek, jalan rusak. Yang sekarang di Australia, yang dari Australia. And then gue tweet no mention sebetulnya.
Yeah.
Tweetnya dan ini akhirnya juga dibahas sama Panji. Tweetnya adalah kayaknya lebih berani lawan pemerintah daripada come out ke orang tua gitu.
Oh, you tweeted that.
Yeah. For me it's a funny joke. I mean, did
it not land?
No, it did not land, of course. No, it land with my followers. Tapi begitu dia retweet terus ada followers yang itu kan tuh jadi rame kayak. Padahal juga kayak emang lu pernah bantu apa sih buat Lampung? This is what I hate about people yang kayak SJW gitu. Lu tuh cuma tersinggung buat orang lain. Lu pernah nyumbang nggak buat jalan Lampung? Nggak, dan diem aja kayak. I think that's the worst kind of people. The worst kind of people adalah orang yang nggak pernah donate buat apapun, tapi dengar isu orang lain. Gitu, aja lu nyumbang kagak.
Salah lu join Twitter. Ya salah gue juga sih. Siapa suruh gue masuk join Twitter anjing.
Masa lu cuma mau jadi orang itu sih yang ngelarang-larang orang lain, tapi lu nyumbang juga gak pernah.
No. Oh my god, I hate all these people. I hate all these people on Twitter. You don't do a goddamn thing for your community.
Gue lagi mau nantang semua orang kayak, kan komedian sering got attack kan, kayak lu kok berani banget sih menjatuhkan korban gini, lu harus tahu joking tuh doesn't add more victim. Joking is harmless. You know what's not helping the issue? Larang orang lain to talk about it. That's not helping the issue.
Right. And rather than you putting out all that energy to condemn somebody for their joke, why don't you put that energy towards raising awareness?
Atau make a donation. Gue tuh sekarang udah kalau ada yang misalnya gue tersinggung sama joke lu ngatain orang difabel gitu, kayak I'm gonna show them a receipt of donation and I want to see whether they can match it or not. You know, I think that's a good competition, no? I mean, gue akan ngelarang gue akan ikut larangan lo kalau lo ngedonate lebih besar daripada gue. That's a fair trade.
No, dude, the irony of people on Twitter calling me a Zionist, padahal aku don't. This is just for this let's just keep it to this episode. Hopefully nobody makes clips of this. Padahal aku donasi duit buat ke Palestina tuh banyak banget.
Iya, gue belum pernah ada insiden manusia yang menggerakkan gue sampai hari ini selain isu ini.
Palestine.
Sama gitu.
Gue, dipanggil Zionis gak?
Enggak, tapi ada banyak kayak SJS I will condemn people who make joke about Palestine. Itu orang-orang yang larang itu kayak coba lu nyumbang berapa? Lu nyumbang berapa?
No, I think at this point I should start doing that because I'm so sick and tired of people running with this narrative that Indah G is a Zionist. I've probably donated way more money, and you can, if they want to do this, like you could probably look up my name or ask somebody from the menteri the KJRI, but like for No, bukan Menteri Luar Negeri. Apa, the Palestinian Embassy. The Palestinian Embassy. If you really wanted to go that far, you can look up my name on the Palestinian Embassy. I donated so much fucking money.
Yeah.
I bet my ass most of you out there calling me a Zionist, y'all didn't donate shit.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Dan ini don't twist our words ya. Pasti ntar ada yang bilang kayak berarti kalau nyumbang you have the right untuk ngatain mereka lebih dari mereka. No, bukan itu.
Bukan itu.
Ya, lo yang larang ini loh. Lo yang larang ini apa actionnya?
We're not saying anything.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything.
Kita nggak ngelarang-larang orang lain.
Itu kayak katanya Bang Coki kemarin kan, apa? Ini kita ngomong nih gara-gara itu ironi aja, kita pengen bukan pengen
That's how
talking.
comedian mind works gitu. The irony, we need to blow up the irony gitu.
Yeah. No, and well, not outside of comedy, because obviously I'm not a comedian, right? But I feel like I can have my opinions and my stances, and I'm literally most of the time I'm just analyzing. I'm literally just analyzing the situation, and you may not agree with my analysis, but that doesn't mean I'm a fucking Zionist. Holy shit, man.
Dulu 90-an atau zaman waktu gua kecil itu ada jokes gini loh, apa ada pendeta sama ustadz gitu kena banjir, ya kan? Terus si ustadznya, oh Pak Pendeta ini aja saya gendong aja gitu kan. Terus habis itu pendetanya bilang, Ustadz pernah lihat pendeta naik haji nggak? Wah mana bisa, ini saya lagi naik haji gitu. Terus habis itu si Pak Hajinya si ustadznya bilang, Pak Pendeta pernah lihat haji ngebaptis pendeta belum? Belum, nih gue baptis dicemplupin akhirnya ke banjirnya. Kalau dulu kan lucu banget ya kayak gitu. Sekarang kita ngejokes kayak gitu udah
sedih.
Wah itu udah penistaan agama
sedih,
itu namanya.
Zaman gue lucu banget waktu gue kecil tuh sama teman-teman gue ngejokes kayak gitu.
Yeah.
Itu sebenarnya ada filosofinya loh. Kenapa di kartu Remi itu the king always fear the joker?
Why?
Ya karena Mark Twain who said this, maksudnya pokoknya ngomong tentang bahwa empire, kekayaan dan kekuasaan itu will take century untuk diturunin dan chop down gitu. Tapi with laughter, detik itu dia hancur sampai ke atom-atomnya.
Ya.
Dan
it takes forever to build an empire, and it takes just like one moment, like
maksudnya nggak untuk nurunin empire kayak to shake it dengan protes dan apa tuh lama, tapi dengan joke tuh hari itu orang itu hilang ke kredibilitasnya. Jadi gue juga percaya sebetulnya toolsnya sepowerful itu.
Yeah.
Karena nggak ada cara lagi untuk menerangkan logik dengan cepat selain
comedy.
Ya gitu lah.
Yeah.
We could make another episode misalnya kayak gitu.
Oh yeah. For sure. Is there anything else?
Terus jadi panjang ya ini.
Panjang. Gue dari baru sadar kayak kok handphone gue sepi banget. Fuck, ini gak ada sinyal dari semua orang.
Anak lu, papa yang jemput.
Iya, makanya.
What time you gotta pick up your kid? What's your kid's name?
Cairo.
Ever gonna take him to Egypt soon?
Pengen sih.
Why Cairo? Why'd you come?
I don't know. I wanted something African.
Exotic.
Yeah, African. No, tapi
cancel him.
No, karena gini, jadi nama gue tuh kan Adriano Iksan Kalbino. The Iksan Kalbi itu kan dari Arabic words. Kalbi itu artinya hati. Jadi Iksan Kalbi kalau nggak salah itu baik hati.
Gue baca kalbinya pikir kalbi Korea.
Nah, jadi gue pengen dia Kairo tuh artinya pemenang kan, itu ibu kota kemenangan kan. So gue pengen dia punya hati pemenang.
Oh damn, that's beautiful.
Jadi dan baik, jadi Kairo, Karim, Kalbi. Jadi hati yang baik dan yang menang. Something kayak gitu.
Goblok banget nyokap gue namain gue Indah cuma karena gue tinggal Pondok Indah.
Wow.
Like,
itu dia kenapa sebetulnya mungkin itu kenapa orang-orang banyak sebel sama lo. Kalau you talk in English dan tinggal di Pondok Indah. That's like the epitome.
Oh yeah. No. If you like, you just have to search me up on Twitter and you understand why people are mad. But it's not even anything to do with me. They don't like the fact that I'm privileged.
Yeah.
Tapi waktu di podcastnya sama Bang Coki lu dibilangnya cici pik lu.
Lucu banget.
Pantai Indah, like it's close.
Sama-sama ada indahnya.
Yeah. Which, I mean, obviously it's not fair, but like, what can I do? Like, some people just don't like you because of things that, like, immutable characteristics that you were born with. Like, I can't.
No, people just don't like you, Indah. Maksudnya kan tadi kita udah lihat tabel pengeluaran sosial ekonomi kan.
Yeah.
Ya memang distance-nya sejauh itu.
Jauh itu. Yeah, like, that too.
Kayak kelas A tuh 7,5 juta. Anjing, berarti hampir semua yang di ibu kota tuh A. Dan A-nya tuh jauh banget, ada yang 7,5 juta, ada yang 60 juta, ada yang 100 juta. Dan kita belum ngomong yang ke kelas B, belum kelas C, which is another 2/3 of economy class gitu.
Tapi like this chart, back to this chart, like these, like this is not common in Jakarta. You can't, right? Is this common in Jakarta even?
Enggak, ini Indonesia.
Yeah, no, but like as in Jakarta, will you find a lot of people that belong to like tier E, D, C2, C1?
Ya, kalau menurut gue di Jakarta nggak ada.
Yang di kampung-kampung susun.
Bro,
enggak. Even that enggak.
Di Jakarta kurang dari 1 juta, lu mati, Cok.
Nggak bisa.
Yang di bantaran kali itu nggak bisa?
Enggak, menurut gue.
Enggak.
I mean kan kita sering lihat kayak pengemis itu dapat berapa kayak.
Oh iya juga sih.
Maksudnya jadi memang, tapi kan sebetulnya bashing, maksudnya tapi abis itu ke bawahnya itu kan, makanya dia bilang Guru Gembul bener, kayak bentuknya sosial kelas kita tuh kayak Monas, jadi dia fat on the base, abis itu lean ke atas gitu.
Ya.
Nah, jadi dari base ke atas itu udah A, jadi itu dari 7,5 juta di base itu sampai ke ujung ini tuh semuanya A.
Yeah. Do you feel like, obviously I'm very like what you said, like the issue isn't just because like some people like just don't like people that are privileged and I can't do anything about that, but it's also because I'm just like the things that I espouse and like my lifestyle and my beliefs, like it's just very far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you feel the same thing with you? Like how do you see yourself?
Gua nggak separah waktu gua baru lulus. Hari ini gua nggak separah itu. Hari ini karena
what changed? Made friends.
Ya, made friends. Dan dulu gue ya kayak tadi kayak unhappy dan kayak ternyata gue bukan susah, ini gue kebanyakan main sama orang kaya sih, karena in that group gue selalu paling bawah. And then after lu ganti temen-temen lu kayak okay, now I understand, ini gue mulai bisa ngukur gue ada di tingkat apa sebetulnya.
That's so interesting. I know you think I should do that more. I know you think I should do that more. But
I believe in you because you're smart. Dan lu punya flexible way of thinking sebetulnya. Dan despite whatever presence yang lu kasih, kayak tadi tapi gue kalau misalnya di US gue tuh center left gitu. So lu nggak kayak yang orang-orang potri juga sebetulnya. Jadi banyak stereotip yang miss juga yang ditaruh gitu.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's a lot of inaccurate information about me. Yeah. For sure. Number one being I'm Christian. I'm not Oh my God. Nggak, lucu banget. Pokoknya there's this one very famous news organization here. They wrote an article about me. Like celebrity biodata. Even though I'm not a fucking celebrity, obviously. But like they wrote like a biodata about me.
Tanggal lahir tidak diketahui. Agama Kristen anjir, padahal dia di mana-mana ngomong gua Buddhis.
Oh ya, tanggal lahir mereka juga nggak tahu. Goblok. Okay. Tanggal lahir, they didn't know my birthday and they wrote down my religion's Christian. Padahal aku udah berkali-kali ngomong aku tuh agamanya Buddha. Bro. But yeah, no, that's super off topic, sorry. But yeah, I guess this chart is very interesting. Maybe we should. No, not me. It's more so me. It's not. You're not the problem. I'm the problem. I think.
So even your ART
is richer than most Indonesians. That's crazy. Actually, this is public information because one time aku keceplosan on a JU video, so I'm okay saying it here. Peter, do you know how much Wayudi gets paid by my mom in a month? Wayudi's my driver, by the way, guys. Yeah. He gets paid. His the consistent salary 8.5 million a month.
Okay. Wow. Do you know UMR, upah minimum pekerja di Jakarta itu berapa?
Now 5.
Yeah, 5.
Sekarang 5.
Yeah, 4.9.
4.9 ya?
Yeah, 4.9, 5 something.
So not even 5 yet. It's like still 4.9.
Yeah, jadi dia making more than minimum wage.
Yeah, and on
teman gue yang engineer saja bisa 6 juta 7 juta
Iya kan?
Yeah, no,
Wow.
my mom, and that's why, dude, Wayudi hates the living shit out of my mother because she's a horrible employer, but because she pays so well.
Iya.
So she pays him 8.5 consistently every month. Tambah lagi kalau dia lembur, kalau dia apa kayak gitu, wah dia tuh bisa like 10 million a month. Dia bisa 10 million a month from my mom.
Anjir tahu gitu dulu gue lulus kuliah jadi
Ya.
supir aja ya.
Ngelamar kerja sama nyokap gue, betah nggak? Ya betah nggak lu?
Ya kalau dikasih gue dikempok duit sih diem ya.
Oh, tapi itu, no, somebody made a joke about that on TikTok. She got so canceled so bad. Because she made a joke about like, oh, if my husband was super rich and gave me like, bayangkanlah like maybe like $10,000, but then like if he beats me up and then there's this girl, she made a joke about it, and she's counting fat wads of cash with a black eye.
Wow.
Like she got so canceled for that, man. Like don't go there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Peter?
Wow.
Aside from Indah Merakyat 2024.
Ih,
Rakyat 2024.
siapa tahu kan nyalek waktu itu kayak.
Bukan, gak kayak gitu. No. Let me give context. Sorry, no.
Mau bisa makan di warteg sama ngajarin bahasa Indonesia katanya teman-teman.
Jadi konteksnya, Peter basically read me to fucking filth, and he was like, "You are so out of touch from reality, and you live in like this privileged chindo bubble of yours. We should make you touch some grass." And so Peter, like now I have a tongkrongan with Peter, and like behind my mom's back, so I can't make a clip of this because my mom will say, but like behind my mom's back, like we'll go to like a warung or like tempat gultik kayak gitu. Kemarin kita makan gultik, and like di jalanan.
That should be a series of content, you know, Indah.
That should be, but my mom will fucking kill me. Dude, that's the. I could make so
you know
much.
what's the closing series?
What?
Indah dates someone from different class,
Jadi
but actually like the person gitu kayak I'm willing to fight my mom for you, like
Itu mah.
these motorbikes are comfortable, you know?
Tapi itu mah udah pernah.
Oh.
2 times.
Oh.
Only the last one was on par.
Oh.
And even then I was still richer. No, I'm kidding. I didn't say that. But yeah, no, that is it for today's episode, you guys. Be sure to like, comment, and fucking subscribe, you cunts. So many of you guys watch this without subscribing. I can check it from the analytics, you fucking bitch. So make sure you subscribe. This is Adrian,
All right, thank you.
Musuh Masyarakat.
Yes.
Also, Majelis Lucu Indonesia, right?
Yeah.
Is it the same? Like, so they're different things, right? And Lucu Flix is different.
Majelis Lucu Indonesia is the talent management company.
Talent management company, and
Yeah,
Musuh
Musuh
Masyarakat
is one of the podcasts.
is one of the podcasts underneath Majelis Lucu Indonesia. And then what's Lucu Flix?
Lucu Flix is our premium platform, subscription based.
Oh, so like Netflix,
like,
but
like a mini Netflix.
like a mini.
Buat konten-kontennya dari Emily.
Boleh tuh biar aku belajar
That's
bahasa
how
Indo.
we avoid kena cancel, Indah. Kita we dissect the audience, we
Pinter
keep it
juga.
premium.
Kalau kalian mau segment non. Okay, well let me know if you guys want a segment that is not comedic and serious. Hire me.
Ya, gue bisa. Kayak I think that's quite a comedy show deh, kayak bikin Indah turun ke jalan.
Get me in. Oh my god, you guys, I'm gonna be on Majelis Lucu Indonesia. Stay tuned. Okay, bye.
Indah makan somai gerobak.